So, modern Frontends live. There's been a lot of people talking about this conference. I was there, and I'd like to make a little bit of a statement about the conference itself, particularly trying to empathize with and understand kind of all parties involved. So the attendees, the speakers, the sponsors, the organizers. Not intending off the bat, I'll tell you, I'm not intending to excuse a lot of the abuse that happened. I'll put links under the like button if you want to read more about those. But just really trying to understand and talk to the outcome and the way it was done, and really try and prevent it from happening again. So let's get into it. Off the bat, if I'm an attendee at this conference, I will have spent upwards of £600 on tickets, UK pounds, in exchange for a number of things. One, going to a venue that looks like the one on the website, looks like this. Instead, the venue looks like this. And I'd already be feeling like, oh, okay, that's a bit weird. I'd go as an attendee to meet and connect with speakers, ask them questions, poke their brain. I mean, that speakers are kind of the lifeblood of conferences. And then I'd find out, oh, a lot of speakers canceled or were made to cancel. I'd go to attend workshops. Workshops were canceled. I'd go to network with the 3,000 plus promised attendees, but honestly, I would struggle to believe that there were 300. So as an attendee, this isn't really going very well. And so I feel like at this point in time, if I was organizing this conference, my natural instinct would be, hey, this is a community event. So what I'm gonna do is give you a partial or complete refund, and I apologize for this. I don't know that that's happened, but I feel like that should happen for the attendees, because if you want to talk about getting what you paid for, I don't believe that happened. Okay, for speakers, I was a speaker, and look, speaking at conference, especially as much as I do, is not easy. Okay, you leave your house, you leave your routine, you leave your family, you go to somewhere else. You hang out with a bunch of people, great people, lovely people. Still doesn't omit the fact that there's a ton of small talk, and it can be, especially if you're more of an introvert, can be pretty exhausting. So takes a lot, and events need you to be there physically. So I'd expect at the very least events would do what is necessary to get you physically there as the bare minimum. That is, make sure you have transportation covered, a way to get there, and then make sure you have somewhere to spend the night so you're well rested and you can do your talk. Like for me, this is the bare minimum. If an event actually wants you there and can afford it, especially with a €600 ticket price, or more. Didn't happen. I found out after agreeing to speak, after people purchased tickets to come see me, I found out, and me and other speakers, of course, I found out that, oh, we'd have to cover this. Now, thankfully, my employer at the time, Zeta, agreed to cover it in exchange for a sponsorship. Awesome. We get there, and as a speaker, it's interesting because I feel like other speakers can relate. If you can relate to this, leave me a comment below. I find it easier to speak to like 10,000 people than to speak to like 10 people in a room. Something about like 10,000 people, there's an ocean of faces, and I think you can't see other people cringe as much, so I don't know, but if it's like just a few people in a room, it gets like uncomfortably intimate sometimes, right? And so this conference boasted 3,000 people coming. There was honestly less than 300. It felt like it. Moreover, there were so many tracks that in any given room, maybe like under 100 people. There was a main stage on which I did not speak. I spoke on one of the side stages. There was no MC. There was no one to introduce me. Like the last speaker got off, unplugged their laptop, and I was like, oh, I guess, okay, this is me now. It was a little bit odd. I was in an uncomfortably small circle, which was still made comfortable, by the way. Thank you, Matt Pocock, Eric Rasmussen, Attila, Fasina, and all my friends. I think Francesco Chula was there, as well as Pratam Kumar, like all the cool people, all of my nice people were there. Thank you for coming out. it was still no MC. It was a small room. We had to bear our own expenses. Not the best. But I think for me, the cardinal sin, like the thing that I have a really hard time forgiving and really accepting, is the fact that none of our talks were recorded. Which, like if I travel all this way, bear all these costs, etc., I at least would like something to show for it. Like, hey, I was at this conference, I did this talk, it's at YouTube. No, there was no recording. Also, just kind of jumping back to the attendee track, if you purchased a virtual ticket, there was no there's no video equipment. Thankfully, the virtual attendees got a refund. I feel for the physical attendees though, still, because as far as I know, there isn't really any compensating for what they missed out on. In many ways, they did not get what they paid for, and I hope they get compensated. But so as a speaker, yeah, I didn't get much out of it, other than probably one positive thing was the vibes were nice. I got to meet friends. I got to see Hack Sultan and my Nigeria people again. It was pretty nice. Also, as an attendee, I think maybe if I look for a silver lining, the talks that were there were just phenomenal quality. At least the ones I saw. Talking about like Evan Bacon, Ben, like some of these talks, best people have seen. It's just a shame that there was no video evidence of them. Let's think about the sponsor perspective. As a sponsor, my gosh, you do your like financial de-risking and assessments. Is it worth the money? Well, I guess it's worth the money because it's a big event, 3,000 people, big venue. Yeah, none of that happened. And so sponsors spent all of this money. I really don't know what they got out. I imagine the sponsor experience of this conference has been the worst, because in this economy, to lose that kind of money on whatever this was, not ideal. I feel like sponsors should get refunds. It's pretty nuts. Now, how could this have been better? How could it have? It's a tricky spot. It's a tricky spot, and here's why. I feel like you can be honest with people who purchase tickets, so attendees, and say, hey, listen, a lot of speakers pulled out, venue's a bit smaller, so what we're going to do is partially refund you, or even like give you a free ticket or something. Except then you don't get the money. But that's like, I feel like that's the right thing to do. Now for speakers to say, hey, we're not going to be able to cover your expenses, we apologize. Just communicate open and honest upfront. But then speakers don't come. And without speakers, people won't come. You still don't get money. You could be upfront with sponsors, right? Hey, we thought 3,000. It's more like 300. It may not be worth your sponsorship, but then you don't get sponsors. And if you don't get sponsors, you don't have money. If you don't have speakers, not only do you not have content, people will probably not buy tickets because there's no talks they want to attend. So all of it comes down to getting money, right? Because I feel like the right thing to do is to be upfront and communicate early and often about goals not being met or whatever, and then allowing people to do what they want. If they want to pull out, let them pull out. But then if people pull out, you don't get money. So then you're faced with a choice. Like, do we inflate numbers and make everything look like it's fine so then we get money? Or do we cancel the conference and give everyone a refund and say we'll try again next year? I feel like this is the tension. I feel like the numbers were a lot of things, not just the numbers, the venue size, etc., were inflated for the money. I don't know if this is malicious or not, or maybe just people actually believed the venue was as big and the attendance was as big, etc. For whatever reason, instead of calling off the conference because of like ineptitude, the decision was, let's go ahead, tell everyone things are fine, but people are coming, and get money. But now a lot of this money, because of that, feels stolen, because like I feel like across the board, attendees, speakers, sponsors, no one's expectations were met. I feel like as an organizer, expectations weren't met. Meanwhile, money was exchanged and not refunded in many occasions. So people are saying it feels a bit like a fraud. I don't know. What I do know is expectations weren't met and things are paid for without return. I don't know if it was malicious, but that's just how I feel. So coming back to the question of how it could have been better and different, honestly, if the conference was like upfront and honest, like, hey, we tried, but people aren't coming, we got a smaller venue, everybody gets a refund, we'll try again next year with your support. Would you be willing to support us? I would be willing to support that. I feel like going the other way, a lot of people aren't willing to support it now. And I don't know if it has a chance. It's a shame. But hey, I have a lesson, I have a takeaway. My takeaway, my lesson is communicate early and often and bear whatever costs, because when you're honest and authentic, people support you and you have a better chance in the future. That's my takeaway. That's something I've learned and I hope to put into practice. What did you think of the conference? Were you there? Do you have thoughts? Leave links to blog posts, etc. under the like button. I'd love to know what you think as well. So leave a comment below or at me on Twitter. But for now, that's been it. I'll catch y'all in the next one. Peace.